3 girls who went missing from Jasper County are found safe in Kansas City.
A group of bipartisan lawmakers meet with President Biden to talk infrastructure. I'm Natalie Brand in Washington with the negotiations ahead and why Republicans are already pushing back.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Authorities find 3 missing teens from Jasper County. This is KOAM News at 5. They've found 14-year-old Alexis Crawford, 16-year-old Morgan Halderman, and 14-year-old Jasmine Marie Holliday, who went missing from Jasper County. KOAM's Zach Dodge joins us now with the latest.
The Kansas City Police Department found the 3 teens early Sunday morning, according to the Jasper County Sheriff's Office. The teens had last been seen at 7th and State Line on Saturday, April 3rd. The Kansas City Police Department Public Information Officer says, quote, "The girls were located and are safe. An investigation is underway. At this point, evidence has been sent out for forensics. No one is in custody," end quote. The Jasper County Sheriff's Office is glad to hear they are okay. Deputy Chief Walrod says they're sending investigators to Kansas City to conduct interviews, but they cannot release more information at this time. Reporting in Jasper County, Zach Dodge, KOAM News.
Zach, thanks. The website Becker's Hospital Review compiled vaccination data from the CDC for all 50 states and made a list from highest percentage of people vaccinated to lowest. The data is focusing on the number of people fully vaccinated in each state. Kansas and Oklahoma ranked in the top 20. Missouri came in at number 42. We decided to see how those numbers look locally. In Crawford County, 19% of the population is fully vaccinated. On the Missouri side, in Jasper County, 12% of the population is fully vaccinated.
I think there's still some level of vaccine hesitancy in the area, and I think we're going to have to get through that. And I think as people understand or see their neighbors and friends that have gone through the vaccination process and didn't have any adverse effects and things of that nature, I think that'll encourage others to go ahead and get it.
Tonight at 6, we're going to hear more about current numbers and trends in the area. Nick Kelly joins us now. A little bit cool, I suppose, for this time of year, but overall not a bad day, Nick.
Yeah, certainly cooler compared to the warm Sunday we had to wrap up the weekend out. Still a mild day, though, with highs in the lower to middle 60s. However, underneath increasing mostly cloudy skies, I'm now starting to see a few showers try and pop up around Lebanon and just southwest of the Lake of the Ozarks in southwestern and south central parts of Missouri. That's because underneath this cloud cover, we actually have some upper level energy coming in from the west that will help aid in some increasing rain chances as we go into this evening, and some trying to hold on during the overnight hours. For now, though, most of us are dry. Everyone's still mild, between 60 and 65 degrees for the most part, but temperatures will fall eventually into the 50s as we head through the rest of the evening, down to most of us in the mid to upper 40s. But I'm tracking the rain chances that'll try to pop up tonight, and more rain chances down the road. We'll break down the full forecast here in a bit, though.
All right, we'll see you soon. Thanks, Nick. Police say at least 1 person is dead and at least 1 more injured following a shooting at a Knoxville, Tennessee high school today. A Knoxville Police Department officer was reportedly wounded in the shooting. Authorities say the school is now secure and students are being released to their parents. With Congress returning to Washington this week, President Biden is stepping up his push to sell his multi-trillion-dollar infrastructure proposal. Today, he invited a group of lawmakers to the White House, where the administration released a state-by-state list of infrastructure needs. Natalie Brand reports from Capitol Hill.
A bipartisan group of lawmakers met with President Biden at the White House as negotiations begin on his more than $2 trillion American Jobs Plan.
I'm prepared to negotiate as to how the extent of my infrastructure project, as well as how we pay for it.
The president also stressed the need for his infrastructure plan during a virtual summit with CEOs on the semiconductor supply chain and chip shortages.
This is infrastructure. We need to build the infrastructure of today, not repair the one of yesterday.
Monday, the White House released a state-by-state list of needs, highlighting the volume of bridges and roads in poor condition, as well as the broadband needs nationwide.
In Michigan, there are more than 1,200 bridges and over 7,300 miles of highway in poor conditions. 13% of South Dakotans do not have access to acceptable broadband speeds. That's something we'd love to improve.
Republicans in Congress have already pushed back against the current proposal, saying it's too expensive and includes items they don't consider infrastructure, such as expanded Medicaid benefits. Republicans also argue the president's proposed corporate tax hike to 28% will drive companies out of the U.S.
Those are not things that we support, not things that I support. 6% is actually focused on the kind of infrastructure that there is bipartisan support for. So I would urge Democrats, let's focus on that.
White House officials say the president is looking for significant progress from lawmakers by Memorial Day. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
In that state-by-state infrastructure report, Missouri got a C-, Kansas got a C. Oklahoma was not given a letter grade. The report says, in part, the state has suffered from a systemic lack of investment. We've provided a link to the full report on our website, KOAMnewsnow.com. The police chief in a Minneapolis suburb where a black man was fatally shot during a traffic stop yesterday says he believes the officer who fired intended to use a taser, not a handgun. Authorities today released body cam footage of the encounter. The police chief describes the shooting as an accidental discharge. The man who was shot, 20-year-old Dwante Wright, died at the hospital. His death sparked violent protests, with officers in riot gear clashing with demonstrators into this morning. The Minneapolis area was already on edge, of course, because of the trial of the first of 4 police officers charged in George Floyd's death. The trial of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin entered its 3rd week with more testimony from medical experts. A cardiology expert echoed earlier witnesses in saying Floyd died of low oxygen levels from the way he was being held down by police. He rejected defense theories that Floyd died of a drug overdose or a heart condition. The Windsor, Virginia Police Department says Officer Joe Gutierrez has been fired following the release of body camera footage following Gutierrez and another officer pointing their guns at Army 2nd Lieutenant Caron Nazario, before Gutierrez pepper sprays him. The incident report says Nazario was pulled over for not having tags displayed on his SUV, but the temporary dealer plate is visible in the officer's body cam video. After a search of his vehicle turned up no violations, Nazario was released without charges. Nazario has filed a lawsuit against both officers. Still ahead, a rise in phishing scams.
People are giving con artists their personal information and don't even know it. I'm Nancy Chen, and I'll tell you how criminals are selling those names and social security numbers on the dark web.
And next in Health Watch, a look at some of the long-term effects of COVID-19 showing up in child patients. Regeneron says a clinical trial of its COVID-19 antibody therapy reduced the risk of symptomatic infections by 81%. The drug maker says it's now seeking FDA approval for it to be used as a preventative treatment. The therapy is already used to treat adults with mild to moderate symptoms and high-risk children 12 years or older. Nearly 1 in 5 COVID cases during the last week of March were kids under age 18. That alarming rise in illness among children has produced a number of so-called long haulers, kids who are sick for weeks or months. One hospital in Omaha filmed how it's trying to help a girl who's struggling with the lingering effects of the virus. Reporter David Begnow has more.
Come on, Piper. Nice job, Piper.
These days, when 12-year-old Piper Seibert gets to run, it's in a rehab.
There we go. There we go.
She's going to the Children's Hospital and Medical Center in Omaha, Nebraska, to build back her endurance. For the last 2 months, Piper has been battling extreme fatigue.
Great effort.
And that is because she's a COVID long hauler.
It is scary because you don't know if you will do something that could make you stop breathing. It's just kind of a squeezing. It almost feels like someone sitting on your chest.
Piper's mom, Sarah, says her husband tested positive for COVID last November, but no one else in the family got sick. Then, one day in February, Piper was sent home from school.
She just went from a really active kid to a very lethargic, wore out.
We took an antibody test, and that proved that Piper had indeed had COVID at some point, though we don't know exactly when that was.
Dr. Jean Bauweg runs the Clinic for Pediatric Long Haulers. It treats about 10 patients like Piper every Friday.
Big breath in.
I think most of us would have expected that really symptomatic kids with acute COVID were the ones that were going to have symptoms for months, and that is just not what we're seeing.
The National Institutes of Health and the CDC are mounting a massive nationwide study of COVID long haulers, which includes children.
We don't yet have accurate data on how frequently that happens to kids.
For now, young patients like Piper have a long road to recovery.
I'm frustrated that there's not a cure for it and something that can make it go away. I don't get to do the things that I really like and enjoy to do.
David Begno, CDS News.
At least 5 other hospitals in the U.S. have also started pediatric long-haul clinics to help kids like Piper. Long-haul COVID is not the same as another pediatric condition associated with COVID, multisystem inflammatory syndrome of children, or MIS-C, which causes high fever, rash, and stomach pain. If you're sneezing right now, if you're sneezing more, well, you're not alone. A study out of Denmark found in the last 50 years, cases of hay fever and asthma have tripled, and symptoms are starting at an earlier age. Nick Kelly is up next with his complete forecast. And a little bit later, FEMA unveils a new program to help the families of people who died from COVID-19 pay for funeral expenses.
Even though the cloud cover has increased, at least we kept things pretty quiet to start this new work week and school week out. It's just a shame that we couldn't repeat the warm day that we had yesterday with highs in the upper 70s to lower 80s. We had to make do with temperatures in the lower to middle 60s with all the cloud cover in place. No rain underneath the cloud cover yet, at least in our area. But look just off to our east, north of Lebanon and south of the Lake of the Ozarks. That's some developing showers out in south central parts of Missouri ahead of an approaching upper level wave coming at us from the west and the southwest. So even though we're not seeing anything out there right now underneath the cloud cover, at least in our area, I will be keeping an eye out for rain chances. That'll be in the cards for some of you at least as we go through tonight and lingering into Tuesday morning. Thankfully, I have us dry and partly sunny for Wednesday and Thursday, but sticking with Doug's pattern, we've got better rain chances on the way as we head toward the weekend, with Friday looking like our best shot for more widespread accumulating rain. And good news for some of you if you've been asking for some rain. Right now, we're just quiet though, partly to mostly cloudy with maybe a little bit of filtered sunshine, keeping temperatures to 62. A north breeze at 16 miles per hour. That's certainly a big change compared to the southwest wind that warmed us up yesterday, but now the northerly winds are keeping everybody in the lower to middle 60s all across the board. Most spots between 60 and 65. So we're quiet to start this evening out, but once we get past 7 or 8 o'clock, we'll watch for scattered showers to take us through the late night and into early tomorrow morning, as most of us bottom out in the mid to upper 40s, but some of our northern counties, you may drop into the lower 40s before we warm back up again tomorrow. So let me run the map. Let me show you what the setup looks like. Doesn't look like anything going on at first glimpse at the surface, but we do have our cold front that worked through last night trying to spawn some severe weather in the southwestern parts of Texas. What's going to drive our rain chances tonight is a passing wave to our north and very faintly a weak wave coming at us from southern Colorado and southwestern Kansas. That's going to pick up a little bit of strength, but just enough to give us some scattered showers tonight, which we can show you right here on the future track forecast. Again, doing a great job showing nothing at the top of the hour ahead of us, but as we go toward the late night hours, here's 11 o'clock, scattered showers will be out there for some, not all, preferring, if I can say that correctly, our southeastern counties as we go through the overnight into Tuesday morning. I think we'll get a little bit of partly sunny skies before the cloud cover thickens back up, and maybe a stray shower again by late afternoon. But we are going to have temperatures staying mild despite the setup. 48 in the morning, 60, quickly jumping to 60 by noon, and then topping out around 63 with a northeast breeze at about 5 to 10. We keep things quiet overall to start Tuesday evening out. Maybe another quick wave could maybe bring a few spots in our southern counties, a few showers. Otherwise, we're cool to start Wednesday morning out. Then, thankfully, the setup keeps us partly sunny and dry as we get back underneath a weak upper level ridge, but strong enough to keep us dry through the middle of the week. Then here comes that next stronger upper level wave. That's going to give us better rain chances by Friday. And with the way Friday's looking, we may struggle to warm up, period. Maybe 45 Friday morning and a high of only 51. So the weekend's going to stay chilly even as we taper off on the rain chances. But at least we'll rebound to 64 by next Monday. In the short term now, before we really turn chilly, 63 tomorrow, 61 on Wednesday.
Temperatures are cool for this time of year, but not too bad.
And thankfully, they're not going to stay this cool this long.
Thanks, Nick. Coming up, con artists are ramping up their scam efforts with a rise in phishing emails and texts. First, though, we honor a local veteran. Billy Gravitt served in the U.S. Air Force from 1959 to 1960. The Roseland, Kansas native was stationed in Vietnam, and we salute Airman Second Class Billy Gravitt, a four-state hero. You can learn about lots of other heroes from all across this area. You can also submit a hero of your own anytime. We're always looking to honor more veterans or currently serving service members. Just go to our website. That's KOAMnewsnow.com. Over the past year, the families of more than 460,000 Americans have had to bury their loved ones who died of COVID-19. Well, now they can apply for federal aid to offset some of those funeral costs. FEMA is now accepting applications through a toll-free hotline offering up to $9,000 per funeral. Applicants must also show funeral expense documents and receipts. There's been an increase in phishing scams during the pandemic. That's where con artists send out emails and texts hoping to reel in victims. Reporter Nancy Chen tells us about a new scam that targets people who are already down on their luck.
The pandemic led to job losses and people signing up for unemployment benefits online, something con artists have keyed in on.
How successful have these scammers been?
Oh, these scammers have been very successful. Unemployment fraud like this is happening all across the country in every state.
Steve Reagan is with Akamai Technologies and recently uncovered a fake New York unemployment website that looks like the real thing. It's since been taken down, but Reagan created this one to show us how it worked. Scam artists send a text or email directing jobless workers to their website. After a username and password are entered, the fake site asks for their mother's maiden name and PIN number. Once the information is entered, users are actually sent to the real New York page.
Do people who enter in their personal information on these fake sites even realize that they've been scammed?
No, they do not. By the time the scam is over, in fact, it forwards you to the real domain, and you'll never notice.
But the scam artist now has the info and can log on as the unsuspecting victim and find even more personal information.
Everything that a criminal would need to commit fraud using your identity.
Last year, the FBI received almost 250,000 complaints about phishing scams, with people losing around $54 million.
If you do fall for one of these phishing scams, the consequences can be pretty severe.
CBS tech reporter Dan Patterson says criminals who get personal info can sell it on the dark web.
Think twice before you click on any link in your email or your text messages.
One way to spot a fake site is to double-check the URL. For example, this looks like a legitimate Google site, but it's not because of the .tk at the end. A small difference that can lead to big problems if your info ends up in the wrong hands. Nancy Chen, CBS News, New York.
Final check of the forecast next. The CBS Evening News is next. Then on KOAM News at 6, we're going to hear more from area health officials about vaccination efforts and how they compare locally to state and national averages. Plus, researchers at Johns Hopkins University say the average daily number of COVID-19 cases in Oklahoma is climbing. And an Oklahoma man is charged with making threats to several high-ranking politicians, including a former president. Stay with us for CBS Evening News and in KOAM News at 6. Checking back with Nick Kelly now on this relatively mild day.
And so far it's been a quiet day, Dal, but I'm keeping an eye on rain chances that want to spark up over the next few hours and continue into Tuesday morning. Otherwise, we'll stay mild tomorrow. Highs near 63. Quiet Wednesday and Thursday, but better rain chances. We'll hold off on that, unfortunately, by the time the weekend gets underway.
Thanks, Nick, and thank you for joining us. The CBS Evening News is next. And of course, we're going to be right back here for KOAM News at 6. We'll see you then. In the meantime, let's take care of ourselves and each other.